If you're a diabetic looking for some exercise, well, that's exactly what we're going to cover. Hang tight. Most exercises can be boiled down into a couple of easy groups. We're going to go over that, and then by the end of this, you'll know what's probably best for you. All right, let's go. First on the countdown is exercise number 5, which is high intensity interval training. Now, the best part about this is that you're only working out for like 20 to 30 seconds, all right? And then you take a break for anywhere from like 10 to 30 seconds, all right? Now, the best part that I absolutely love about this style of exercise is that you can literally scale nearly any sort of exercise simply by taking small numbers and applying them or multiplying them. And the absolute best part that I absolutely love about this style of training, okay, is that you can literally use it to scale nearly any sort of exercise. And if you saw like my 0 to 100 video, this is literally how I went from like walking a mile or having it take me like a half hour on my lunch break to walk a mile, right? To literally getting to 5 to 5.25 miles running on that same lunch break. Okay. And like, granted, it wasn't 30 minutes. I had an hour lunch break, but you can obviously see such a huge difference there. At the same time, this is how I went from like doing like jumping jacks in the park. If you also saw my other video there, to like deadlifting and doing CrossFit style exercises. All right. Now, what you really get out of it is a couple things more than anything. Is going to be accelerated fat burn. So if you didn't know, this style of exercise is based on the work of a Japanese scientist by the name of Tabata. Now, if you've ever opened up your smart apps or the phone on your apps and stuff like that, you've probably seen like Tabata timers and Tabata songs and stuff like that. And the reason why is because this gentleman by the name of Tabata is a scientist from Japan, found that only with 5 minutes of exercise that people were able to spike their fat burning for up to 72 hours, right? Imagine that. 5 minutes of work for 3 days of fat burning. Now, for diabetics specifically, 2 huge perks that we get are going to be improved insulin sensitivity as well as improved leptin sensitivity. If you want case study information on that, it is in my 0 to 100 video, so we don't need to cover that here. Now, one of the awesome things that I love about this style of training is that it is extremely highly glycolytic, okay? Meaning that it burns a bunch of glycogen that is in our systems. Now, there's some pros and cons to that, and we'll definitely cover it here in a second. While we're on the pro side, if you are doing targeted keto, okay, targeted or TKD, or even carb cycling for muscle building, aka like, hypertrophy, what you'll probably end up going through and experiencing is that it's going to tighten up, help tighten up rather any of those loose areas that you have on you, right? So for me personally, it was basically since the age of 9, token fat kid, always the pun of the fat jokes. And when I started losing a bunch of weight, like for example, when I dropped my first like 50 pounds with no exercise by playing with food, I found that my arms, because I had no muscle, there's like guitar strings, they basically look like nunchucks in a pillowcase, okay? And this is one of the ways that I was able to tighten things up. Now, speaking of keto, okay, like shouts out to the keto folks out there, if you are fat adapted, okay, this is a huge advantage. And let me show you what I mean. Okay, so this here is one of my heart graphs, all right? And this is a workout where, my cousin came down, we went to one of these UFC gyms, and we burned, on this particular day, I burned just under 1,700 calories, right? So 1,697 calories, and check out the graph. All right. If you'll notice, compared to most folks that aren't fat adapted, it's completely backwards, right? Like we worked out for over 2 hours. Obviously, there's a handful of chilling in there. You can see like where it goes up and down and up and down and up and down, right? And here's what's happening. So I probably burned anywhere from like 900 to maybe like 1,200 calories before I really spiked it up, right? Before I really cranked it up. And if you look at these zones here, what that top 5 zone means is that basically I was at like 90% of my heart's capacity, right? Definitely don't need to go that hard and heavy. But point being made here is that, man, if you're fat adapted, high five, because most folks, okay, they'll typically run into a wall, right? Or at least I know I have a million times where I would, work out, I'd push, and the next thing you know, I would crash, and the next thing you know, I'm like just trying to survive the rest of the workout, right? Well, if you're fat adapted, high five to you because, basically you got like the secret weapon. Now, here are some, let's go over some cons here, at least the disadvantages, okay? So depending on how sensitive your body is, you can trigger what's called a cortisol release, or cortisol is also known as the stress hormone, right? So if you have the Don's effect, anything of that nature, you'll notice that, sometimes whenever you release cortisol, it will spike your blood sugar, okay? Also, if you're not fat adapted, the second you go to exhaust all the stored glycogen in your muscles, okay, our livers have like a reserve, all right? So the minute that we burn it all out, that reserve just says, okay, cool, like reserve tank on, and it basically dumps all this glycogen from the liver directly into our bloodstream. Well, naturally, that's going to cause a huge blood sugar spike, if you're not ready for it, or if your body doesn't adapt well to it, or if it just doesn't take it, in general. And the best way to totally cut through the mustard and internet wannabes saying you got to do this, or it's got to be this way or that way. Here's the easiest way to cut through it. You ready? Here we go. Test yourself. Okay. The easiest way to do it is in 3 minutes. Just take your testing equipment to the gym, prick your finger, or naturally, obviously you want to wash your hands first. But yeah, prick your finger and bingo. Now, keep in mind that your body can and may adjust over time. At least I know mine has, and a lot of different things that I've done. And so you probably will go through the same thing. Now, if you're used to it, right? Like if you are not used to it and you go to the gym or you're playing with, family or whatever, and you start having fun and it becomes like party time, you're like, woohoo, right? Like you're really, really going for it. Depending on what sort of protocol you're on, you might need to change your carbs around. Okay, so for example, I'm a huge fan of Dr. Bernstein, right? His protocol is 6-12-12, right? Well, common sense there is if you're not fat adapted, or even if, depending on how well your body can synthesize or process protein, if all you have is 6 grams in you and you try to burn like 2,000 calories in a workout, you're probably going to crash. You know what I mean? Which is totally cool because, if your body's just not there yet, it's just not there yet. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Now, cool thing is, if this doesn't work for you, no worries, right? And on to the next. So exercise number 4 is good old-fashioned resistance training. Now, this is known as, good old-fashioned lifting weights. And there's 2 main ways of doing it. There's a bunch of ways of applying it, but 2 most popular ways are low weight, high reps, okay, or high weight and low reps. All right, very simple. Now let's start with a low weight, high reps. The thing that I love about that is that it lets everybody have fun, right? The easiest way to apply it is basically just find something, whether it's a machine, a weight, or a bar, and just play with it, okay? And all you're gonna do is simply take it easy. You're gonna focus on form, and basically you just get results with the compounding effect. All right, so here's a perfect example. All I would do mainly when first started doing this is my son and I would go to the gym and we basically just pick 2 exercises and switch between each round. Okay, super simple. And each round would consist of a countdown of 50, 25, 10, and 5 reps. All right, so for example, let's say I picked up like a 5-pound weight. Okay, and I would rep it like, let's say 50 pounds, and then I turn right back around and then find like a leg machine and do 10 pounds and do that for 50 pounds or 50 times, right? And then for the next round, I would do, 25 and 25, then 10 and 10, and then obviously the last round would be 5 and 5. Pretty straightforward. The cool thing about it is when we talk about getting these compound effects, okay, are 2 things. You might be thinking to yourself, like Davis, 50 reps, that's a lot of reps, and that's exactly the point, because we are using very light weight, okay? Very, very light weight. And let's cover that. So let's take this workout, for example, right? So we are doing 50, 25, 10, and 5 reps, meaning that each exercise gets a total 90 reps. So the very first exercise, if you will, is the MTS crunches, is where you have to lift your own body weight. We're only doing 50 pounds, right? So 50 pounds times 90 total reps gives us a total of 4,500 pounds lifted on that one exercise, right? And it's like that machine goes to 150 or close to 200 pounds or something crazy, and I'm only doing 50 pounds. All right. For the back extensions, we're at 130 pounds times 90 reps, give us 11,700 pounds. We did the standard crunch, 50 pounds at 4,500 pounds there. And then for the torso rotations, 90 pounds times 90 reps gives us 8,100 pounds. So within the span of about 30 to 35 minutes, I lifted a total of 28,800 pounds. Pretty awesome. And speaking of which, if you're following the 30-day Facebook challenge, let's go over those weigh-ins. Bingo. Look at that. Let's get on to exercise number 3. Low intensity, steady state cardio. This is also known as LISS, all right, for all the nerds out there. I'm one too, or at least all the gym rats, if you will. I'm definitely not a gym rat, but yeah, I'm definitely a little bit of a nerd. But this, hands down, is the easiest and most effective way to drive down both blood sugar and cortisol. Okay, and here it is. It's basically just walking, playing with our kids or grandkids, and it's one of my favorites because it's an awesome stepping stone for anyone, whether it's just a 5-minute walk in the morning, right, or even a 2-hour hike. Okay, and here's a perfect example. So on this day, we had walked 4 miles in just over an hour. All right, nothing strenuous, about 17 minutes a mile, and that was pretty much it. All right. Now, speaking of which, let's go over these weigh-ins. All right, awesome. So down to 221.5 pounds. High five to that there. And that brings us to exercise number 2, which is basically mixing it up. All right. So if you've ever seen the old P90X, right, that was the secret. Okay. They called it like muscle confusion. And the more that you change it up, basically your body can't plateau, right? Your body can't just, get used to it and get lazy. So if you've ever done treadmills forever and all of a sudden you hit that wall where you're just running on that thing and it's not going anywhere, right? Or even if you're lifting and it's just not going anywhere, obviously that's a plateau. Okay. And by mixing it up all the time, your body has a much harder time of plateauing. And so you keep getting that that beginner's phase over and over and over again, which is a good thing, because your body doesn't fall into a groove, and, you keep your muscle building, your body toning, and your fat loss, up. All right. The cool part about that is that the Journal for American Medical Association did a report on type 2 diabetics and found that the ones that mixed up their exercises, got the best results. And the easiest way to do this is basically just take all the different exercise and try them all out, right? What I typically do is I just do a bunch of different exercises. I rank them. Sometimes I'll actually just if I'm feeling spontaneous, I'll ask Noah and be like, hey, look, here's 2 or 3 different exercises we can do. What do you want to do? He tells me, and that's exactly what we do, right? Really, really simple, which brings us now to exercise number 1. So before I give you the number 1 exercise, let me give you the little secret, a little tip or trick or whatever to make it all work. Okay, this is what makes everything click. All right, you ready? So here it is. All right, and it's easy bees. All right, you might be thinking what the heck is an easy bee? So here's what that means. All right, so if you were to go online right now and look up every single kind of exercise and get all fancy pants and stuff like that, let's be honest, you could probably within the span of 30 minutes probably come up with the best exercise routine and probably outdo what you'd find in P90X or some circuit class or whatever, right? I mean, dude, the internet is boundless. You can find anything nowadays. But the only problem there is that if you give yourself something that is extremely complex or there's a million hoops to jump through for you to get an A, right? It's probably not going to stick. Okay, which is why I, go for easy B's, right? Like the walks or the high reps, low weight, right? I mean, you can literally see how we're not doing anything strenuous. Within 30 to 35 minutes, I'm putting up anywhere from 20 to 30,000 plus pounds. I mean, let's be real here. Okay, let's say you are, let's say you only weighed 100 pounds. Okay, and let's say you did a leg exercise that only did 10 pounds, okay, which is a tenth of your weight, which if you're 100 pounds, you're probably doing that when you walk. But let's just play dumb for a minute, all right? So even if you were to do that, 90 reps, right? 4 different types of exercises that had to do with your legs, right? That's what, 4 4 times 90 is, what is that? 360, right? And then, but times 10, because it's a 10-pound weight, that's 3,060 pounds, or 3,600 pounds. See, I even totally messed up there, but you can obviously see just how far you can get, by doing something really, really simple. Okay, so that is the magic sauce. All right, is simply by giving yourself easy B's. The easier that you can make it on yourself, the better, and then the more and the faster and the easier it will be to grow. Now, let's get into exercise number 1, which is basically just what inspires you most, right? Like, what's gonna work best for you right now? The last thing you ever want to do is like say, hey, look, I'm here and I'm just gonna do water polo, and like you're not even into it, and maybe you find something new. That's awesome, but at the same time, hey, maybe it's dancing, maybe it's going for a walk, maybe it's working on the yard, or maybe it's spending time with your kids or your family or whatever, right? Going for a swim, whatever that is for you, that's what's gonna work, right? Really just take it easy, and the best thing there is to have fun. So if any of this have served you any well, please feel free to subscribe, because it is, channels like this, it's groups like this, it's the people which we get to take and help one another, where we get to make the biggest improvement and the change for not just ourselves, but for everybody, involved. All right, so have an awesome day, and cheers. See you in the next one.